Hey everyone, welcome to Foster Care Friday, where today we're going to answer the question, why are kids in foster care?
That's basically what you do. That's how to be a foster parent.
So now you can be a foster parent. Good luck. Why are kids in foster care? There's a lot of reasons, but it really boils down to three things. And what are those three things?
Child endangerment,
Yep.
abuse,
Yep.
and neglect. Now those things all have all different types of levels, all different meanings.
Right.
There's a whole slew of things that can happen.
Right.
We've had kids with child endangerment who have just been exposed to drugs. I know of some people who have kids who their child endangerment is that their parents actually committed a crime, like a hardcore crime,
Yep.
with the kids in the car. As for neglect,
the kids, like, there's a baby, the baby's failure to thrive. So
which means the baby just wasn't getting fed.
The baby wasn't getting fed, the baby wasn't growing, it wasn't meeting, even for the lowest percentile for like size or weight, it wasn't meeting what that baby is supposed to meet at the time frame. So a year-old baby should be more than, like, I think, 8 pounds or something. It was very malnourished.
I think it was a 10-month-old that was about 8 pounds.
Yeah.
So obviously that baby wasn't being fed properly.
Right.
There was also just we had some kids that came and they were very stinky and gross, and that had been reported by one of the kids' teachers.
Yeah.
That just something seemed off and not right. So there's those forms of neglect, and then abuse. Obviously, there's normally it's physical or sexual abuse.
Yes.
Obviously, there is verbally. I don't know of any child that's been removed simply for verbal abuse.
I haven't heard of it. Yeah.
But normally, obviously, the verbal abuse normally goes along with the physical abuse
And sexual abuse, because that's how they control that part of the control is that. So yeah.
So those are the reasons that kids they end up in foster care.
Right.
Sometimes there are things where I've heard a lot of people go, oh, are they going to take my kids away from medical neglect? Usually if they're taking kids away from medical neglect, it's because there's some hardcore things that have happened. I know there are some people that will dispute this. We live on the natural side where we try and avoid the doctor if possible, because we just try to stay as healthy as we can naturally.
There's usually natural ways or food or something you can do to improve your health. Obviously, if you lose an arm or your arm gets cut off or whatever happens, obviously I can't eat something and make that heal. I need to go to the doctor and get stitches or whatever if I cut my arm really bad. So we're not against doctors. There's a time and a place. Right. But a lot of times the medical neglect things would be like if a child has a hernia and they're not taking care of it, if they're having severe skin issues and like they're scratching themselves raw and nothing is, like, when it's bad, like there's just, I mean, we've had kids that have had medical neglect issues and stuff, and it's usually more severe things. Yes. So the way that kids usually actually end up in foster care is there's someone who actually reports it of some sort. Right. And so that's usually, they go to the doctor, and the doctor sees something, hears something, whatever. Doctors can report it. Kids go to school.
Teachers are a big part in it.
Yes, teachers do a lot. And teachers, if you're a teacher, you can do more than you can think. Because if you report things, they will investigate it. And
they will.
I know it could take some time, but they will investigate it.
In fact, they're required, any report of abuse, neglect, I think report to CPS, they are required to investigate it, to check and make sure that child is doing well and is okay. Yes. So we have doctors, teachers, who else can?
Bus drivers. We've actually had a set of girls that it was a bus driver that reported the kids.
Right.
Reported some funny things happening with the kids. Friends, parents, the kids' friends' parents could report something. Mm-hmm. Or you just...
And sometimes that stuff comes from, maybe they notice, like, my daughter's friend is very dirty or very thin, or maybe they come over and they're obsessed with the food in their house because they're realizing they're not getting enough at home. It could be
there may be some physical bruises or something that may just be
inappropriate comments. Oftentimes even it can come from things that your children say. If you have one of your kids' friends where something seems funny, your child may find out something about their friend that they tell you that may go, something seems off here. That's not right. Like, her daddy and my daddy don't have the same kind of relationships. It's not the same kind of love, things like that. So kids end up in foster care because someone reports them, and then CPS goes in and does an investigation.
Yes.
So sometimes the investigation is they walk in, they look at the house, they go, okay, everything's good, and they look around, and
they say, okay, you need to improve on these things. And it might not be major things, it just might be little things. Like, you need to have more healthy food in the house. You need to have more food in the house. You need to have, we need to get you some running water, or whatever it might be. And CPS will help these families get on, get to the steps they need to get on programs, or whatever it might be, to do these things. Now, in severe cases, they will do removals of the children.
And at times, sometimes there are often times when there are things reported and they find that the home setting is totally fine, and they just close the case, and it's fine, and it's good to go, and there's no problems, there's nothing held against you. They just say, someone reported something, so we wanted to check on this child and make sure they are okay. Your home is fine, your home is great, you're a great parent, grandparent, and uncle, whoever has this child, and things are good to go. So, but if they do, a lot of times they will, if they do find problems, a lot of times they will give a case plan for the parents to work at home. Yes. So say the home is just disgusting. Like, it's not a great place to live in. Right. They will give these parents training and classes and assistance to help them learn how to manage their household better. Right. And give them a certain time period. Sometimes it's like 6 to 9 months to work on these things. And they'll have classes available and counselors to come in, and maybe even say these parents are having issues with drugs themselves or something. So then they're having a hard time keeping a clean house because they have a distraction. So they'll help them get clean and stuff like that. And as long as the kids are safe, so a lot of times, or at times, they will let them keep the children in the home. But if things aren't progressing the way they need to, oftentimes that's when they come in and go, okay, it's not working. We're going to need to remove your children for a while. So that's when they'll go and remove the kids. So sometimes when you have foster parents can get harped on sometimes with being like, why are you like, the people will be like, why are you like that? They're just trying to get their kids back. They're working hard. And it can be frustrating for us at times because maybe a foster parent's had a kid for 9 months, but 9 months prior to that, the parent was already working. So they've had 18 months to work on this, and they're not making progress.
A lot of times, CPS just doesn't come in. They see something, they don't just take the kids. They don't just remove the kids. A lot of times, it's these parents that have been on a plan for, like, we had children who, their parents, something happened, and mom and dad and the family were on a plan that started in January. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until May, so 5 months later, they removed the children. So they had 5 months, but then sometimes it can be hard with the kids in the house still, and there's stresses. Kids are stressful, so and then sometimes removing the kids, that's also gets parents back on track. And this, that case, mom did great. She got the kids back, and she's doing awesome now. Mm-hmm. And so, it's two-sided. So there's good and bad. So. But you got to understand the bad cases too with the foster families that have had these kids. Parents have been doing the plan for, say, 6 months before the kids come into care, and then now it's 9 months later, and parents are not progressing the plan like that is laid out before them, and they're stumbling, which stumblings happen, but when it's a constant every single time they're supposed to meet a milestone and they're not meeting those milestones, it's frustrating for parents because the parents have to deal, or the foster parents, it's frustrating for us because we have to carry the children. The children are still seeing the parents every single week. Right. So they have these
most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time they're still seeing the parents. Mm-hmm. And so they have these visits with parents, and
it's throwing emotions all over.
There's emotions even for the young kids, even for the
babies.
The babies even know it. The babies know it. They get thrown off. And you may not they're just, their stomachs are upset, and they have, especially when you have to change diapers, you can tell the difference.
Yeah, it affects not only their emotions, but it will affect their entire body and that sort of thing.
Yes. Right.
So, that's kind of the process and how kids end up in foster care. And that's something we also want to mention is if you are a teacher, a doctor, like really anyone. You could be someone who works at church, and if you're noticing something's funky, like if you get... Sometimes you have to listen to your gut. If you get a weird feeling about someone's dad, someone's uncle, someone...
Whatever it might be, your gut is there for a reason.
Yeah. So listen to your gut and don't be afraid to report someone. Because if a household's fine... I've had friends go, I'm so scared someone's going to report me to CPS just for little things. My kid didn't eat their lunch today. Someone's going to report me just in a joke.
Right.
Like, you know what? Even if they did and your house is totally fine, or if you're... feel like you need to report someone, but you're afraid, like, what if it's not fine? If it is fine, they'll come in and they'll do a little investigation and they'll go...
They'll clear it.
It's fine. And there will be nothing against that person. They're not going to... it's all private. No one's going to know who reported the situation to CPS.
It's basically... Well, I don't know if it's anonymous, but it is confidential.
It is confidential.
They're not going to say, well, your neighbor's over here or your kid's friend's parents. No, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to say that. They're going to keep it confidential. They're going to protect you. Unless you say something, they're going to protect you.
So basically that's the process is, a report happens of abuse, neglect, or child endangerment.
Yes.
And it comes in, they investigate. A lot of times they'll give a plan for the parents to, here, I'm going to give you 6 months. Like the judge says, here's what I want you to do. Let's try and fix this to keep your kids in your home. And then sometimes they'll remove them. Other times there are things that happen where cops come in and it's drug bust time and there's kids in the house. Kids are removed that night and they go straight to foster care. Right. So there's, or they realize there may have been sexual abuse. The doctor notices something like when there's, they call that an emergency removal, an emergency placement. But they,
when there's an immediate physical harm and they if there's a drug bust or say a car accident and mom or dad are say high or drunk and no one can take the kids, they're not just going to let the kids, they're not going to put the kids in jail with the parents. No, right. They CPS comes and they, find a place for them. So they find a foster family. And
oftentimes, it may be within the next few days with a situation like that, they may actually find a relative who is on the right track and who is willing and okay to take the kids. Basically, that's the situation, and that's how the process happens and how kids end up in foster care. Yes. Again, a report is made, they investigate it, they give the parents a chance at times. Other times they're directly taken into foster care until the parents can work the plan. Working the plan, just to give you a little idea of what it is, basically the parents go to court, the judge says, here, I want you to read this parenting book, I want you to go to counseling, I want you to get clean, you have to take drug tests, I want you to
maybe
go to jail for a while, get a job, have proper housing for so long. And basically, it could be any things that he says to do, but he gives them a plan that they have to work, and here's what you have to do to get your kids back. So basically, that is how and why kids end up in foster care. Right. And we mentioned reporting things. We also want to encourage you, if you ever feel like there is something that is off, like a child is being abused, physically, sexually, even if it's emotionally, guys, that can damage a kid like crazy. I'm sure there are emotional, if they're enough to where you notice it emotionally, there's probably physical abuse as well. So if you notice any neglect that's going on, a kid isn't clean enough, they don't seem to have enough food, they're too skinny. There are times
maybe clothing. Might be clothing.
And sometimes there's those things where they just realize that these people are in poverty, so clothing and food is provided. Like it's simple as that. They just need help.
They get the help they need.
Right. So CPS can aid in that way because it's Child Protective Services. It's not, hey, I'm going to take your kids away from services. Right. Because you're a horrible person. It's there to just help the child. So don't be afraid to report something that you see that's off. Listen to your gut. It's normally right.
Yes.
And be willing to help and protect kids.
That's right. So, I mean, if you need the number, it varies by state, obviously, but
Google will find it for you really quickly.
It will. You just do a quick Google search. And I know you got your phone with you because you're most likely watching on your phone or on a computer. So, quick Google search of CPS.
Child Protective Services. Or
file a CPS complaint or something like that, and they should be able to. It'll take you to it, so you can file that complaint quick and easily, and know that you're protected. It's confidential, anonymous,
and that you're helping a child out.
And that you're helping a child. You might be saving a life.
Right.
So you never know. Or it may be changing a life big time. It may change a family completely.
Yes.
Just by you calling. And not so much that the kids are being removed, but that family doesn't know what help they need until someone steps in. So they step in, the family gets help, and they're able to just thrive and prosper after that.
Yep. So that basically concludes on why kids are in foster care, how they get there, what the process is for that. So this is our next Foster Care Friday. There will be another one next Friday for you. I'm not sure what we're talking about yet. It'll be a surprise.
Tune in next week to see.
Yep. If you know anyone who is interested in foster care or even just wants to know the information on how they can get involved and to just learn about it, share this video with them.
Yes.
Don't forget, we want you guys to like this video. There's a thumbs up button. Click that right now.
Thumbs up.
Right now. Thumbs up. Okay. And then if you haven't subscribed, there's going to be the subscribe button and that little tiny bell. Do you see that down in the corner? Hit the bell. Yep, that's going to notify you when videos come out.
Right.
And leave a comment. We're still looking for questions that you guys have about foster care. So keep adding your comments and tell us about what you want to know.
And we will try and keep you informed and help you out.
All right. And you guys have a good one.
All right. Good night.
Bye.